Yo, what is going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new locals feature match. Here we are in round 2, and we've got Kashtira on the left, piloted by C Goody, the one and only C Goody, versus Kaz on the right. Two people you guys have seen on this channel recently and over the years. So we're gonna see the Chimera deck piloted by Kaz go first here. They start with a cornfield Codal. Go ahead and search, and it's gonna hit with Droll. Just pretty decent card, this format. Just in general, covers a wide range of decks, so long as you don't get hit with D-Shifter. I talked about in the last match, D-Shifter makes me feel some kind of way. But Mirror Sword Knight kind of helps to play around that, as it can play on the opponent's turn, can tag out in something that mentions Chimera Fusion. In this case, it's going to be the Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws. And that's going to go ahead and allow him to search out Chimera Fusion and another copy of the Claws, I believe. Oh, no. He's summoning Big Wing Baphomet, and Big Wing Baphomet is searching out the Gazelle and the Chimera Fusion. They look very, very similar. Anybody who plays this deck, you gotta tell me, those cards look very similar, especially in person. Yeah, the Droll only hurting so much there. I mean, it probably does stop the majority of their setup. And speaking of Droll, the Chimera deck does have Droll back on what is possibly the best thing to Droll a cash player on, is on terraforming. Literally has to be the single-handedly best time to Droll them. Yeah, it's the best. It's like the only time to do it that's the best. I mean, you can Droll them other times, right, in the resolution of like Unicorn or Fenrir or Planet, but at that point they've already got a body on field. Doing it on terraforming resolution has got to be the best feeling. And they're going to go ahead and read the Chimera Fusion real quick, which I know I'll probably have to do over the course of this video. But they opened not super well there, especially through Droll. They had Prosperity, they have Planet, they have Big Bang, they have Lance, and I think one other card there. So they're not able to do too much there through the Droll and Lockbird. Normally it'd be a pretty low impact card. I guess I shouldn't say low impact, but not as high impact as against would be like some other decks like Infernoble, for example. Or Drytron, right? Droll and Lock being very, very good against those decks. Any deck that likes to search a lot. So they're going to go ahead and summon another Big Wing Baphomet. That's going to go ahead and search 2 again. And they're going to activate Chimera Fusion. They're going to fuse away with the Gazelle and the Baphomet into the card that I pulled as a Quarter Century Secret Rare, which wasn't that much money, but if this deck sees a lot more popularity, my investment might go through the roof, and hopefully it does. But they're going to go for Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, and basically just make it so when it's summoned, you can just rip a card out of your opponent's turn during the end phase, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're, turn 3 against the deck, and they're ripping the second card with that, and it's like you're down to like 2 or 3 cards, and they're ripping a card or 1 card, like putting you on top deck, it does add up. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And then not to mention the Cornfield, I believe, and the Sword Knight both have graveyard effects while you control a Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast. One is a monster negate, and the other one is when you activate a card effect that would target. You can negate that as well with the Cornfield. And of course, there's a branded engine in here as well. So they go into Lubellion with the Chimera Fusion. And they're going to use Lubellion to go ahead and put back Albaz. And we'll see what else they want to decide to make here. They've got an open board, and they need to really try to go for game here, as they cannot afford to give Cash another turn. They know they have Planet in hand, and they're going to have an extra card, a 7th card, going into this next turn. So they are going to Fusion for Mirror Jade. And I don't believe Chimera Fusion is a once per turn. At least a fusion summon anyway, so they can use it multiple times. They're going to go for another Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, and that is 21, 21, 19 from the Mirror Sword Knight, and 3K from Mirror Jade, which is more than enough for a game, so we are into game 2. Reminder, guys, to check out Imperium Duelist and my TCG Player affiliate link down in the description, all down in the description. There's that D-Shifter. Love to see it. And they're going to activate Terraform. Them with Terraforming again, and that would be a great spot to Droll. But you know what? D-Shifter doesn't just make graveyard decks useless. It's also just a massive call by the grave for certain hand traps, right? because why not? Because Droll says graveyard, Valor says graveyard. There's probably another card. I think Ogre says graveyard as well. Yeah, it's just it's a great card. It's a fantastic card. Yeah, going to Unicorn into Fenrir, and then I think they Theosis out. I think they Theosis out the Fenrir, and then they got the Rise Art on board. That's going to go ahead and banish Big Bang, and then they're going to go ahead and make the opponent banish top 3 and also lock down a zone. Big Bang is going to go ahead and detach from the Shangri-Ira and either add or special summon. They're going to add back the Unicorn there and keep it in the hand just for follow-up. Very conservative play here, making and ensuring that they have follow. They also have Birth in hand as well. And we'll see what they decide to do with the rest of the cards in hand. They're just going to go ahead and set one and pass on that. Knowing that they got loads of follow-up. Standby phase, we're going to see the Shangri-Ira activate, bringing out another copy of Fenrir. And again, you have to remember that the Chimera deck is still under Shifter because it lasts for 2 turns as well. So they're going to activate the Patchwork. Forgot its name for a second. Patchwork's going to go and search the Edgem Chain and a copy of Polymerization. And normally, you know, Chain and would get an effect when it's sent to the grave, and you'd also have the, you know, the added benefit of having Polymerization in your grave in the case of something like Chimera, Guardian Chimera. Will no longer be something they can go for this game because of the D-Shifter, but they do have Pankratops, one hell of a card to have here. And they're just going to go battle phase, attack into the Rise Heart, clear that, and still in battle phase, activating the effect of Pankratops to clear the Fenrir as well. So getting rid of 2 bodies there off of 1 card, trading very, very well. And in main phase 2, they're going to normal summon Alibur. That's pretty strong here. They can still use Branded Fusion under D-Shifter because I don't believe it says send to the graveyard exactly. They're going to use the Branded Fusion. They're going to chain D-Barrier, which would be a turn killer, but they do have Chimera Fusion, which they can chain in response to that D-Barrier, still allowing them to fusion here. Which they're going to have to go into something pretty impactful here. I don't even think going for, I mean, I guess going for the hand rip one is not so bad, but I feel like you want something a little bit more higher impact. So they're going to go for the Guardian Chimera, and they did use 2 in hand, so I believe they'll get to draw 2 here, pop 1. They're obviously going to go ahead and pop Planet. Since, I mean, if they try to pop the Shangri-Ira will just detach to save itself, and that also potentially gives him more access for birth targets to bring back. That Fenrir will detach, it'll get banished, and again, yeah, that's just something for the birth to bring back. And they're also going to get to add, since one of the cards was used as fusion material, and they're going to set 1 card and pass. So, I mean, not so bad. Not so bad there for our Guardian or our Chimera branded player. Also need to read Dimensional Barrier really quickly. For rest of the turn, neither player can special summon monsters of the card type. Also negate the effects of all monsters of that type while they are on the field. So I'm pretty sure the way that should have resolved then is Chimera Fusion resolves, D-Barrier resolves, Branded Fusion resolves that effect because of the D-Barrier, and then Chimera doesn't resolve because D-Barrier is alive. So I think, unless I'm wrong about that, I could be very wrong about that, but I don't think he would have gotten to pop or draw there because I think its effects would have just been negated by the D-Barrier. I could be wrong. Both players probably missed that. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? We're already ahead of that. Game state is moving forward. So I mean, yeah, this is unfortunate. Super Poly will resolve here, sucking up Guardian Chimera and a Rise Heart. Pretty good trade there. I mean, you're losing a card in hand, you're losing your Chimera just to get rid of the Rise Heart. I mean, you're kind of going -2 there just to get rid of it. But I mean, you get a body out of it, I guess, and you know, you get rid of one of the opponent's cards, one of their best cards, I guess. So it's not terrible. But they're going to go ahead and get the Fenrir on field and a Rise Heart, and Fenrir is going to go ahead and search out the Scareclaw Kashtira, and piling on a decent amount of damage here. They're going to go ahead and get to add Big Bang. And they're checking the graveyard here. They can just go battle phase right now. But first, they're going to use the Rise Heart effect. That's going to banish a Birth from the deck, make the opponent banish another 3 face down. Kind of a relevant effect here, since, you know, having certain cards in deck to be able to search off of their various Chimera cards is pretty crucial. They'll go battle phase, attack, banish the Mud Dragon face down. Of course, it's being negated by the Scareclaw Kashtira, right? So don't forget that. And they're locking down more zones in the process. And they're leaving their opponent at just 1,500. Not quite enough for game. If they would have had Planet, they've been gaining 200. So still not enough for game there. But they're going to go into Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon. Card I haven't seen in quite some time. So every time they do something, they're going to take 500. So they basically have 2 effects to work with, which is a lot to kind of worry about, especially when you've got to worry about like Birth. You've got to worry about Fenrir. 2 set on top of that. One of them, which we know is Big Bang. And of course, you've also got the Chandra, which could have brought out a Unicorn there for more interruption. And yeah, just not able to get it done there under that board, under those circumstances. And they lost the game there because of D-Shifter and D-Barrier. 2 of my favorite cards. Gotta love them. Let's go into game 3 here, where we're going to see the Chimera branded deck go first. What do you guys think about the Chimera branded deck? I think it's some... I've only played against it once or twice. I don't know. I don't know if it's any better than like standard branded, but it's pretty interesting. So we're going to see them activate opening. They're going to chain D-Shifter again. And then you're like, you know what? If I'm getting hit with D-Shifter here, might as well discard this useless Droll in hand. And yeah, because why not? And they're going to go ahead and get to search the branded fusion. They have Super Poly as well. They have branded fusion. And they have Mirror Sword Knight. So they're going to go ahead and normal summon that. Activate its effect. Tribute itself. And it is a quick effect. It says, quick effect, you can tribute this card as cost. Especially when 1 monster from your deck that mentions Chimera Fusion except itself. And that is going to go ahead and bring out the Big Wing Bear from it. Says if this card is normal or special, you can add a level 4, 1 level 4 beast monster and or 1 Chimera fusion from your deck to your hand. Also, you can add special monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. So yeah, quite a restriction there. And not sure what else they can do here. It's not like they could go for a Baguska line because they are locked into fusions. They are going to go ahead and commit the Chimera fusion here, using the Gazelle and the Big Wing Bear from it, going into the Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. And that's going to proc, making them lose a card, which will get actually banished here in the end phase, but won't make too big of a difference. And the Gazelle says if this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material, so that won't proc. And the other one says if it's sent to the graveyard as fusion material as well, they get to add. So I don't think they get to add unless I'm missing something here. Let's see. If this card is fusion something, you can add this effect, send a random card from your opponent's hand during the end phase. Your opponent's turn quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 beast. So I am not sure why they got to search there unless they use Cornfield. Discard this card, add 1 monster that mentions Chimera Fusion. Okay, so that one doesn't have to hit the graveyard. I might be just getting things mixed up here. But they're going to end on a rip 1. They rip a Pot of Prosperity out of the hand, which is pretty good. But, of course, it's not that good because they opened another Prosperity, revealing 6 there. Unicorn, Planet, Droll, D-Shifter, Theosis, Birth. Some pretty good cards amongst those. Some pretty not so good cards. But, I mean, seeing Planet and seeing Unicorn is pretty strong. They don't have to worry about Droll here, of course, because D-Shifter is still in effect. So, I mean, they could take Planet with, like, little to zero repercussion there, worrying about getting hit with Droll. Get Unicorn anyways and get the extra body. But it looks like they're going to go ahead and take Theosis, special summon Fenrir, and use Fenrir effect to go ahead and search for a cash monster. That's going to go ahead and add Rise Heart. And then they're going to activate that Theosis. And Theosis will go ahead and summon a non-Earth Kashtira. It's going to bring out Unicorn, of course, in defense position. And they can also proc Theosis here. They're going to use Birth to go, or, well, sorry, Unicorn to go ahead and grab Birth. And I think at most, all they have to worry about is just a all they have to worry about is just a Chimera fusion, which will just result in a pop 1 or 2, which is really not a lot to worry about. Normally, again, you'd have the Mirror Sword Knight and the Cornfield Coatl in the graveyard acting as extra interruption, but D-Shifter completely shutting that down. So we're going to see them overlay the Fenrir and the Unicorn into Dark Arm Dragon of Annihilation. And this could open up the board a little bit, or it could just allow for a Zeus line. So they're going to go Battle Phase, attack over, dealing half damage there because of the Prosperity. And then main Phase 2, using the effect of Dark Arm Dragon of Annihilation. I think this is worded kind of similarly to how Bahamut Shark is worded, where if you use its effect, you can't attack. So they're going to attack with it first, then use its effect. Detaching Fenrir and banishing the Fenrir, and it's going to hit a Super Poly, deciding not to chain it there. And then they're going to go ahead and activate Birth. And that's going to bring back the Fenrir. Things not looking too great here for our branded Chimera player. I also see a Droll and Lockbird in hand for our Kashtira player, so they'll have that on top of everything else they have right now. They're going to go ahead and special summon a Rise Heart. I see Daruma Cannon getting banished there off the top by that Rise Heart. They're banishing another Birth in the deck, and then they're going to go ahead and overlay. Thinking about overlaying Fenrir and Rise Heart. I think they have a Bell in hand. I think that looks like Bell. I think that looked like Bell. Is that Bell Droll? Hard to tell. Hard to tell if it's Bell. They're going to go for Shangri-Ira, and they're going to go for Zeus. And then standby phase, Shangri-Ira is going to bring out Fenrir. They have Branded Fusion. Pretty good draw to have here, especially now that D-Shifter is no longer online. They're going to go ahead and dump Elbaz. And I think that's Gazelle. And looks like they're deciding to go for Rindbrum, which is a pretty strong card. It says, when a Fusion Synchro Ixies or Link Monster's effect is activated quickly, you can negate that effect, then return one monster from the field to the hand. Very, very strong card here. So, Birth will get used. That's just going to wipe their graveyard clean. And they're going to attempt to use Zeus. Or I think they're just using... Yeah, they're attempting to use Zeus. They're negating it. And then they're also just returning the Zeus. And Shangri-Ira will also lock down a zone because of the Birth. And then Mirror Sword Knight will get normal summoned. Tagging out into the Big Wing. Adding to the Gazelle and the Chimera Fusion. Both players just throwing Drolls at each other this entire match. Some being more effective than others. But I mean, getting 2 cards to the hand off of that Big Wing Bear from it is pretty huge, especially since you get a fusion spell and you get some material to go with it. It's just a matter of being able to crack the board right now. Which that Shangri-Ira, being as protected as it is going to make things here a little bit more difficult. And maybe using Super Poly was the play earlier in the turn. Because maybe at that point, they would not have had Zeus. I mean, they still could have gone for Zeus, but they wouldn't have had Zeus and Shangri-Ira. And then Rindbrum could possibly deal with the Shangri-Ira itself, since it does bounce, and not destroy. But they're just going to decide to pass turn here. And Unicorn's going to get brought out. Fenrir's going to go ahead and search. Unicorn's going to go ahead and search. And now they are just getting their engine rolling big time here. They have Droll, and they are not using it for obvious reasons. That's going to proc Fenrir. It's going to proc Unicorn. And they might only have one good fusion target left in their extra deck to go into. And if it gets sniped, it just might not... that might just be game over right there. They're going to lock down another zone because the Rise Heart going to a Rise Heart. And switching everything to attack. And they only have 2 bodies on field. 2 zones are locked. Now they're going to activate the Chimera Fusion. And they're going to try to get something done here, but I don't know exactly what they'll be able to do. Using 2 from the field and 1 from the hand. And those cards are getting banished now, again, because of the Arise Heart on field. And they get to pop 2 here. But, I mean, there's really no great options here. You're leaving them with something good regardless. I mean, I feel like... yeah, they're going to go ahead and get to draw. And they're going to get rid of the Fenrir and the Riser. I think those are probably the best 2 things to get rid of. But then they have Scareclaw, Kashtira, and they're just going to go ahead and decide to scoop. I think they did say something about misplaying there. Not exactly sure what the misplay was. Maybe you guys can figure it out. But yeah, that's going to do for this match. Cash takes it 2-1. And last but not least, a big shout out goes to our current Divine level channel members who are Misfit, HA8 Cyber, Cadillacs, Pony Stark, and Green. Thank you guys so much as always for extremely kind and very generous support of the channel.